All right, well, we'll go ahead and get this meeting started at 5:02. And since we have several members that are not our regulars, I would appreciate it if everybody takes just a minute to introduce yourselves, commissioners included. So I'll go ahead and, my name is Brian Gomez Palacio, and I'm the chair of the Bloomington Arts Commission, and I'll pass it on to Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick Blanford. I am the chair of the Public Arts Planning Committee.
Rachel?
Hi, I'm Rachel, and I am the chair of our grants committee. And I'm going to pass it to Essence.
Hey, I'm Sam Sven, and I have been on the Arts Commission for about 2 years.
Quentin?
Hi, I'm Quentin Strata. I've also been on the Arts Commission about 2 years now, and I'm on the Grants Committee with Rachel.
Babette?
I'm Babette Ballinger, and this is my first year in the Arts Commission.
Karen?
Karen Hallett-Rupp. I guess this is starting my second year in the Arts Commission.
Elizabeth?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I've been on the Arts Commission for about 2 years.
Essence?
Hi, Essence. I just joined this year, right before the lockdown.
And Valeria?
Hi, hello. I'm Valeria. This is my first year, and I'm apologizing for the noise here with my neighbor.
No worries. Did I miss any commissioners before we go on to members of the public?
Elliot's here. Elliot joined us.
Okay, because I keep having to scroll back and forth. Elliot?
No, we just lost Elliot.
Oh, he's having audio issues.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, Sean, if you can guide our members of the public, because I think since you're sharing your screen, I kind of lost.
Yeah, so just members of the public, we have a few today, and we have an agenda that I've shared, but let's maybe start with Nichelle, and then we'll jump around from there. You all just want to introduce yourselves to the commission.
Hi, Nichelle Whitney. Today I am representing the Banneker Center, the Banneker Community Center Advisory Council, so many words. In other capacities, I serve as the chair for the Monroe County Women's Commission and also on the board of directors as a fellow for the Monroe County and Bloomington Community Foundation. Thank you.
Hey, Nichelle, I just read the same stuff you just wrote on the Slack channel at the Mill today. So nice to see you.
Hi. I'm so excited to have a little space at the Mill now. I feel so official. So in that capacity, I'm a small business owner. I own The Garden LLC, which is a diversity and inclusion training consulting firm. Nice to meet you.
Cool. See you around the Mill.
Let's say Liz Claffy, you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Claffy. I am a professor of photography at Indiana University, and I'm so excited to be here.
And I believe we have a couple more people from the Banneker, Joy, Kira, Rochelle. Any of you all can take it away.
Hi, I'm Jaquita or Joy. I don't really have a preference. So I'm here representing the Banneker Community Center as well. I am an administrator at IU. I'm part of the media school, the Black Film Center archive to be exact. And I do a number of other things in the community. So I'm happy to be here and help represent the Banneker Community Center.
Hi, I'm Rochelle Brown, part of the Banneker Advisory Board as well. Just here to support, and in the community, I am a counselor and an artist. Thank you.
Kira?
Let me unmute her real quick. Let's see. It might be a...
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Yeah, I accidentally got bumped off. My reception isn't that well. Are we just introducing ourselves?
Correct.
Okay, hi, my name is Kira Dominique, and I am a local artist. I'm a filmmaker, consultant, activist, and equestrian. And I joined today because I'm very interested to find out more about the artists in the city of Bloomington and what all is going on and how I can participate and be more of an active member of the council and commission. Thank you.
Fantastic. I think I saw Elliot jump back in. And we lost him again. Tyler?
Hi, I'm Tyler Murals. I'm a graduate student at Indiana University getting my degree in Arts Administration and Public Affairs, and I am the Arts Fellow for Sean.
Great. Did we miss anybody besides Sean?
I can Elliot here. I'm having some crazy audio issues with my laptop, so I'm jumping off my phone. Sorry about that.
No worries. I'm glad you can make it. Sean, do you want to introduce yourself or anybody?
Oh, yes.
Everybody?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sean Starwitz. I'm the city or assistant director for the arts, and I'm the staff liaison for this wonderful bunch of people. So, yeah, take it away, Bryony.
All right. Well, before we get into the juicy part of the meeting, we have a couple of housekeeping, and we'll start with the minutes from from July. Did you all have a chance to review the minutes that were shared with you by Sean? Do we motion to approve the minutes, or do we have changes?
I motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
That was Rachel.
Okay. We've got a second. And Babette? Okay, we've got a second. Any notes, comments, changes? All right, let's vote to approve the minutes. We do need a verbal agreement from everybody. So I'll start down my screen here. Rachel?
Yes.
Quentin?
Yes.
Sam?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Babette?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Essence?
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Valeria?
Yes.
Did I miss any commissioners from providing a vote?
Elliot, yes.
Elliot. Okay. Sorry about that, Elliot. I don't see your picture, and
Yeah, no
it
problem.
keeps bumping you to the very end.
Yeah, that's because I'm working on it.
No worries. All right. Minutes are approved. We move on to the financial report from Sean.
Yeah, financials, no change. There's been, we in the 402, which is the leftover 1% funds, as you see here, we have 61,635. And then in the former municipal or the Arts Commission operation funds, which is the leftover postcard funds, we have 3,961.65. So no changes from month to month this go around.
Great. Any questions for Sean at this point? Going once, going twice. All right. Now let's move on to two fantastic presentations that we have today, and I'll let Sean guide us through those since he organized them.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is really Banneker Advisory Council, so I'll kind of hand it off to Nichelle to kind of walk us through. But you all have had access to this file, and I know that Eric Pearson was here. Oh, there's Eric. Yeah, sorry, we skipped him on public comment. I'm so sorry. Who's the staff liaison for the Banneker Community Center. As you all know, we have the Arts Commission has a great partnership with the Banneker Center, just with the Blackie Brown Arts Festival. A variety of different kind of programming. So this is the proposal to do a Black Lives Matter project on Elm Street, and as well as somewhere else downtown, and also possibly in partnership with Enough is Enough on IU's campus. And I'll really hand it over to Nichelle to kind of talk about the project and the origin of where it started from. And we'll go from there and just have a great conversation.
Thank you, Sean. So I am one of many members here today representing the Banneker Community Center. So I'm going to invite my fellow council members to fill in the gaps for me. It's likely that I'll miss something or not explain something accurately. So please help me through this experience. So In a special meeting on July 15th, 2020, the Banneker Community Center Advisory Council voted to recommend the creation of 2 Black Lives Matter murals in Bloomington, Indiana, the first of which we wanted to be located on Elm Street. We recognize this effort as something that is both political and communal, and as a council, we commit to holding ourselves, our community, and our leaders accountable for addressing racial and social justice and social inequity in Bloomington. A firm commitment to the Black Lives Matter mural is an outward expression and recognition of one of the largest civil rights movements in US history. But we know that this act of good faith cannot stand alone, and it shouldn't stand alone. So we're imploring our city leaders to establish points of accountability that citizens can and should expect to hold. We call for the Racial Justice Task Force to review policies and programs, statements of no tolerance for hate, and strategic allocation of resources into Black and Brown businesses and neighborhoods. We must say that this statement reflects the opinion of the Banneker Community Center Advisory Council, and it does not necessarily represent the view of the city of Bloomington, although we do hope that they stand alongside us. They've been great partners so far, so we'll talk a little bit about where we are and where we're going. A little bit of background before I pass it off to Joy. Joy and I actually started these initial conversations with Eric Pearson, who has been a champion of this work from the beginning. With Eric's help, we were able to convene a small working group that did include Sean, Shatoya Moss from the city, Kai Freeman from Black Student Union at Indiana University, and a host of other people on the call. One thing that I do want to make clear about this proposal is that we're specifically pitching the idea of 2 Black Lives Matter murals, one being created around Elm Street and another in a more political position, such as downtown Bloomington. We are not and have not been working with Enough is Enough to create the mural that happens on campus or on Jordan Avenue, but we are interested in supporting their efforts. But that is not a part of this proposal. So I wanted to make that clear because I know there are several conversations happening in the community about Black Lives Matter murals. So at this time, I'll pass it off to Joy to kind of highlight the vote, the design concept, and then we'll open it up for questions. Joy?
Yes, and I apologize before I was rushing into this meeting. Thanks, Nichelle. You actually have explained the first part so perfectly, and share my thanks as well to Eric and everyone who has been a part of this thus far. But with the 2, the first being Elm Street, we are really looking for that one to be more artistically sound as far as with Black artists, and really soliciting for those individuals to do their creative design in that one. We're hoping that that's a colorful, amazing mural that happens by the Banneker Community Center. And really and truly, that was one that we wanted to, definitely start with. But again, the conversation also, talked about the downtown mural, which the location is still to be determined, since the downtown mural would be a more high traffic area. We would solicit the paint for, like the bright yellow high traffic paint. And I believe Sean mentioned there were a couple of other colors, but something more high traffic for that area. I think, with the council, and speaking on behalf of myself and the council, we would love to see both murals happen very close in proximity of time, simply because we don't want it to seem or suggest that we are only wanting the mural by the Banneker Community Center and then some type of, conflict arise in between that time with the downtown. We want to make sure that the community knows that they're all, they're tied into each other. And I also share her sentiments with wanting to support the one on campus. However, knowing that there's some different dynamics that have to take place for that. So we are strictly, at this time, presenting this proposal for the city streets, Elm Street and somewhere downtown. I don't know if I covered everything. I've been in multiple meetings today.
That was great, Joy. Thank you so much. I know that we have other members of the Banneker Council on this call as well, so I would love to hear their voices. And then also to have Eric speak to kind of the process that we've already been navigating, the board that we've already pitched to, and then anything you would like to share from the logistical components.
Yeah, I can go ahead and jump into that. And then if Rochelle or somebody else wants to make a comment from the council, that would be awesome. So I'm Eric Pearson. I'm the program facility coordinator at Banneker. First, I definitely want to highlight the entire advisory council and Joy and Michelle, obviously, who spearheaded this for their efforts. Since I've been here for 5 years, as a Bloomington resident who played basketball at Banneker and then found myself in this position for the last 5 years, I think this is always what we have trended to and wanted to become. We wanted to have a group of residents that care passionately about our mission, come together and solve creatively some of the issues that we see in our community and have honest conversations. And so I personally am thankful for those conversations, and I couldn't be more excited about this opportunity. Obviously, this is quite the process. This is the first time that we've brought forward a recommendation as an advisory council since I've been here, but beyond that, this is the first time that we've really pursued street murals. So, naturally, there's going to be some back and forth on what exactly we have to do. We have narrowed on, with Sean's guidance, kind of a 4-step process of approvals that started with the park board in July, I think July 28th at that meeting. They voted for their support of this project. And obviously is before you today, but then it'll move on to the city council as a resolution and the Board of Public Works. So the reason why that process is in place is kind of twofold. One, there's some state and federal codes that we have to follow to make sure that it's official. But also, we want to make sure that this mural is poised to be here for years to come. We want to make sure that it can be taken care of and preserved by the community that it's meant to serve. And so I think it's frustrating to guide through that process sometimes. I can definitely echo that. And I think we want to make sure that we handle ourselves and communicate as city employees throughout this process so that we encourage other community members and other commissions and councils to come forward with issues like this as well. We want to hear voices from the Black community, and we want to be a resource for them and to make sure that we open those lines of communication and make it easier for other people to come forward as well, because working with the city of Bloomington on this means that we have to follow some protocols, but we hope that we can be transparent with what those are and use it as a blueprint for future involvement with the community. As far as some more logistics, I think Sean may have mentioned that with the Blackie Brown Arts Festival money that is currently sort of idle, that might be a really good resource to support the local artists and the project as a whole for this year. And I can say that it's our goal for the years to come that the city has funding that works to preserve the murals and compensates the artists for different things that they're going to be doing. I know that the street is, Elm Street in particular, is set to be paved in 2 years. However, it's our goal that this mural is constantly kind of rededicated each year at the Blackie Brown Arts Festival, but also at an annual summer block party that we have at Banneker that kind of culminates our summer camp. So those are two things that I would mention as well. We do have an advisory council meeting at Banneker coming up next week, where we're going to be diving into the second location and having that conversation as a group, as well as showcasing the submissions of Black artists that we've received so far. It's important that the advisory council have that opportunity to continue those conversations, and we look forward to that. You know, from a Banneker perspective, obviously, you know, this has a special place in my heart. This project and this facility, and the opportunity to take on this project and see it come to fruition, and see how it could translate into constructive conversations that take place in our facility to further the cause of justice, racial justice and social justice in our community. I'm really looking forward to that. Obviously, you know, once COVID moves on, I think, you know, and even before then, you know, Banneker should house those conversations. Banneker is home to the Black community, and we work to preserve that feeling every single day. And so having this mural in front of our building would be a nice segue to continue those conversations inside our walls and be that place for the Black community. I think, you know, anytime you're able to work with people as passionate like the Advisory Council, it's a real blessing. And we're fortunate to be in front of you here today, and hopefully we can continue this process of moving forward.
Thank you, Eric. One final thought that I have, you highlighted something that's really important. So we understand that there's a risk associated with this design. We know that it could potentially be vandalized. We've talked about that from the beginning. And so because we are partnering with the city of Bloomington, our expectation is that the city continues to fund the redesign of it, okay? So if it is vandalized, we don't want that to be the end of the mural. We would like to see a commitment to maintain the upkeep. The other thing is, this is also why we're pitching this not just as lip service. We don't just want this to be a painting that goes up in the city and that's it. This is why we're asking that point of accountability come with this, and not just for our leaders, but for community members as well. So I thank you all for hearing us. Eric, you explained that so well, the process, the bureaucracy, the longevity of this process. So thank you for that. And now at this time, those are all of my remarks, but I open up to anyone from the Banneker Advisory Council that would like to share remarks.
Yeah, well, this is Rochelle. That was all perfect. I really appreciate everything, and I thank you all for the time and support. I'm really looking forward to this.
Okay, at that time, I think that's all we got. Does anyone from the Arts Commission have questions for us?
I have a quick question. In the show, you really touched on this. My question was about the potential for vandalism. And so I understand that you are working with the city to potentially sort of repair in the event that there is some sort of vandalism. But I'm wondering, is there anything that can be done preemptively to sort of like avoid this? I don't know if there are like different types of paints or different type of materials that might be less easy to sort of destroy. And so I'm wondering if, I don't know what that would look like, or like if there's some sort of maybe coating that would make it easier to potentially wash off some sort of spray paint or vandalism. And so just thinking about, are there other things that could be done in the actual sort of construction of the pieces that might deter some of this, instead of necessarily having to think about, I mean, I love that you all are thinking about what this would look like over time, but I'm thinking about like, is there anything that we could do preemptively to avoid some of this, or to help in the instance that someone does decide to do something to the murals that you're thinking about?
I will just jump in and say there are graffiti abatement sealants that we could potentially use. I don't know if the city's used them in the past, but it's something I'm familiar with from doing public art commissions.
You can't use them in the street, though. That's the problem. So typically a sacrificial coat, if it was on the side of a building, it'd be a different conversation. What ends up happening, because of some of the bureaucracy that was mentioned both by Nichelle and Eric, because it's in the street, there's some very strict guidelines in terms of what we have to abide by. And essentially the high traffic yield paint has silica in it, and you can't mix in silica with a graffiti coating. So the question, though, I mean, I think one of the things that comes up in this process, which is meaning that this really has to come from the community, and by it coming from the community, maybe there's another set of watchful eyes over the work, right? And we've seen other communities that have obviously fallen victim to defacement and vandalism in very painful and traumatic and terroristic ways. I think this would be a testament to Bloomington to step up and kind of have, you know, community around Elm Street and wherever the downtown location, make sure that that doesn't happen. So unfortunately, because it's in a street, some of the safety parameters are a little bit different in terms of what we can do to prepare the material or the coating or the paint. But we're looking into a variety of other options and what other communities have done as well.
Yeah, if I could add to that real quick. I know the Banneker Center in the near West Side neighborhood has a very special place in a lot of people's hearts, particularly in the Black community, given the historic nature of this neighborhood. And I think, you know, hopefully if we do this the right way and we encourage their involvement and give them opportunity to lead this effort with the city taking ownership, that like Sean said, there will be watchful eyes protecting it because it is important to do so. But I definitely think that the conversations are ongoing on what the city and what our roles are in preserving it and making sure that if that happens, that we're prepared to act swiftly to bring back the integrity of the mural as quick as possible.
There was one more thing that I did fail to mention. We are hoping to invite the community, you know, definitely around Elm Street, you know, even with the artists, of course, socially distanced. But then the downtown location, we were also hoping to invite the community to actually help, you know, participate in some ways with the mural. So hopefully, you know, it will really be, you know, a moment, you know, of togetherness and unity, as well as something that everyone will really take pride in and, you know, have in their hearts.
Thank you.
Sam, go ahead.
Can I, we were, when we talked about this last time, Rachel and I, well, and everyone just wanted to be very transparent that it was going to be resurfaced in 2 years. And it sounds like you guys already know that, of course. But I thought, when I heard that, I thought about like inlaying like tiles or something like that. But that sounds like it might be difficult in the street. But just like Quentin, if we use different materials that were more easily washed, could we inlay something in round 2? Just an idea.
Yeah, I think that's something that we want to make pretty clear, that I think with the Black Key Run Arts Festival, which obviously we're disappointed it couldn't take place this year, because I think last year it really grew into something really special. But I think as that continues to evolve, and we've been doing the Banneker Block Party in our summer camp for over 15 years. So I think there's naturally at least 2 events in warmer weather months where we can constantly rededicate this with the community at large. And so I think that's something that we're definitely committed to seeing through. And I would be, as somebody who works and parks my vehicle and city vehicles on Elm Street in front of the building, I will tell you, I will be thrilled to have it paved, but I'm also confident that after it is paved, that we can continue this mural.
Well, it sounds like you're taking the 2-year mark more as a ongoing challenge and a positive outcome than something negative to consider. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Nick.
Yeah, I was just curious to talk a little bit more about maintenance, and sort of ultimately, I guess, who is responsible in terms of cost for the maintenance of this? And then, obviously we all hope this does not happen, but were it to, be graffitied or defaced or what have you, aside from funding, like who is physically responsible for the maintenance and sort of cleaning it up? I guess like, is the idea that we would, sort of go back to the original artists? Would that be the Banneker? Would we want to form, some sort of, community committee or something like that to sort of be on deck for maintenance? Yeah, I'm just curious to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, that's something we're still working through in terms of, so traditionally, like a traditional partnership, in terms of something coming from the Parks Department, it's shared kind of maintenance costs between our department, so ESD, the Arts Commission, and Parks, right? So we would have to like negotiate where those kind of like, we have a maintenance fund for public art that's in our collection. I think that's part of the reason why this would come through, why the process of going to the Bloomington Arts Commission was, if it's accepted into the Public Art Commission, then we would have, it's accepted into our public art, and then therefore, you know, it's in the city's art collection. So therefore, it'd be still a shared cost between the Parks Department and the ESD or city arts budget. I think moving forward, Nick, that's a really good point about kind of a community advisory group in terms of the future and the longevity to get to something like what Sam was just mentioning, which, you know, the mosaic option is not out of the question in 2 years by any means. But that would be a different kind of cost, right? And so there could be a potential opportunity for us to, as an art commission, make that recommendation, potentially partner, you know, do a more community-wide fundraising campaign around. I mean, I think in 2 years when we cross that road, there's a lot of different ways it can go and what the community would want, right? And mainly what the Banneker Advisory Council would want in terms of the, for that specific mural. So it kind of is, the short of it is it's a split departmental cost, depending on who, like where it sits, where like everybody thinks of everything as, and it's really confusing, right, for members of the public, where there's this, it is part of the city, but like, is it on the B line? Is it in a street? Because then it just, like the jurisdictional boundaries of departments are so confusing. So part of the reason why coming to the Art Commission is really important and calling it public art, which it is that then we would have some pretty, you know, we would build that relationship with the artist. You know, we would, you know, when we repair works, artists have first right of refusal. In terms of like, let's say something fades over time, we ask them first if they still live here. If they can't make the repairs, then we work with them to find somebody who else can make those repairs on their behalf with their permission. Part of the reason I think, and Eric, correct me, part of the, I think our initial idea is to have the contract for 2 years, because of the repaving would allow us to open the call up again to cast a wider net, bring in new or emerging artists to participate, or Nichelle or Joy can chime in on that too. That's kind of the, I think the kind of linchpin coming for 2 years down the road from now in terms of the future opportunity after it gets repaved.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. And not to beat a dead horse here, but one thing I do want to make sure is very clear, Nick, is when you ask about who's the advisory group, it is the Banneker Center's Advisory Council project. So that is the advisory group. I think our council has shown a dedication to community and strategic partnerships. So we obviously will keep the conversation open with many entities, but when you look for who's the group, it is the Banneker Center's Advisory Council.
Yeah, and I think in terms of the adaptation, you know, in 2 years or what it looks like, I mean, it's something that, you know, we're going to have a conversation with as an advisory council, and we'll initiate with them, because from my seat, I think there's an opportunity that, you know, this continually evolves with emerging local Black artists. I think that, and in 2 years when it's repaved, you know, we may not want to put it up just as it was before. Maybe we can rededicate it in a new style. So I think it's a living and breathing thing. And that's one of the benefits of the project, is we're all committed to it being that way, and continuing to evolve over time to highlight the Black community and the Black artists who help make it possible.
I have a question. And please forgive me if this was touched on earlier in the presentation, but I heard that there was a possibility of partnering with Enough is Enough. Was the Bloomington chapter of Black Lives Matter invited to partner as well? Did you guys hear from them?
Yeah, I can speak to that. That's a great question. So to be clear, we're not partnered with Enough is Enough, and we're also not partnered with the working group Black Lives Matter here in Bloomington. Part of that is because this Black Lives Matter mural is not going through the actual sanctioned organization. We know that there's some bureaucracy around the establishment of the local chapter here, and we didn't want to uncan and unearth any of that. So formally, as far as bringing forward the proposal, we're not partnered with Enough is Enough or the Black Lives Matter working group. However, as Joy mentioned, when we talked about the design and that community involvement piece, they are on our list of strategic invitations to invite them to, whether it's the unveiling or the design or even the concept of it. So they are partners that we're considering, but they're not a part of the initial proposal, if that makes sense. Thank you, good question.
Any other questions or comments? Let me scroll here. All right, I think that's it. That is a lot of information for us to digest. I really appreciate that. But at the same time, it seems it was thorough enough that questions are limited. I will urge commissioners, as always, with these kinds of projects, if something pops to mind within 24 hours or a week, make sure you reach out and get those answers based on anything that might come up later and at another day. Sean, are you good to close this part of the meeting?
Yeah, we should probably vote to support it, to move forward so it can start to, so if the Arts Commission is ready to do that, that would be, I think, helpful to move the project forward in terms of getting it on the Board of Public Works and moving it forward against the tight timeline. So. Okay, so I motion to vote on the approval of this project. Okay, we have a second from Babette.
No, I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so the approval of this project, which is one mural or the two murals, and it's one project sponsored by the Banneker Community Center Advisory Committee, or exactly what is it that we're voting for?
To recap, Michelle, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so in the proposal, our central recommendation is that a street mural with the statement Black Lives Matter be created along Elm Street in front of the Banneker Center. That is our #1 priority for construction, with a second mural to follow closely in a more public location, such as the downtown area. That is what we're bringing forward to vote on today.
Is that clear enough, Babette?
So basically it's under our guidelines? It's a question. I'm just hearing what Essence questions and some of the others. So it's just that the BAC is supporting the proposition of two murals, one to be at the Banneker, the other in an indeterminate place.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and that we are working with the Banneker group, so to speak, to have an appropriate.
Yes.
Okay.
So, you got it. You got it.
We're avoiding all the politics. Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before moving on to a vote? Okay. So, Valeria.
Yes.
Essence.
Yes.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
Nick.
Yes.
Elliot.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yes.
Sam.
Yes.
Quentin.
Yes.
I say yes. Did I miss anybody?
I say yes.
Babette. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. We approve this project to move forward, and just keep us posted and let us know what you need along the way and where we can be of any assistance.
Thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. As we move down on the agenda, we have Elizabeth Claffy to share the IU MFA photography project.
I just
Sean, is there
unmuted
anything
myself.
else you want to add before she gets started?
Yeah, no. Liz, take it away. This is your time.
Okay. I never know if I'm supposed to unmute myself or I'm going to be unmuted, so I just went for it. First, I just want to thank you guys so much for including me in this evening. I'm really excited to get your feedback. I want to tell you a little bit about a project that I hope to present to my MFA students this semester as an assignment. Every semester we organize we have, our Mondays are critique, which is driven by their own personal research. And then we have our seminar, which is generally on Wednesdays. And that's primarily driven by an assignment that I construct and that they respond to. And so in the past, one of the things that I've done is just a volunteer project assignment in which they are in charge of identifying an organization in Bloomington or within driving distance of Bloomington that they can volunteer, that they can give 15 hours to in the first half of the semester. And then the second half of the semester, they spend their time making work in reflection of that experience. And in the past, it's been a very wide open project, and I actually didn't let them use their photographic or artistic skills as part of that volunteer work. So they really had to just get out of their comfort zone and engage with the community, not behind a camera. And this semester, I'm really sorry if you guys, my kids are right here and they're screaming. So if you hear that in the background, I apologize. But there's like no amount of headphone that can get rid of the sounds. So this semester, and this might be hindered a little bit due to the pandemic, but what I was hoping is that we could further engage with their photographic skills in order to volunteer within the community, really trying to connect a little bit more. We tend to stay in the gown area, and I'd like to work on that and bridging that so that our students can really honor the people in their community that are supporting their studies and their artwork. Throughout their graduate degree, they're so focused, and rightfully so, they're often focused on presenting work within a gallery space, which is this kind of like high art, exclusive space that, artwork often lives. But I'm hoping that this semester, especially due to our circumstances, they can really bring that out into the community. So what I'm hoping they can do is, as a collective, identify an organization or a couple of organizations that they can partner with in order to either collect stories from citizens in Bloomington, or it could be a portrait assignment in which they use their camera to make images of people within the community. And then they identify different buildings in which they could project those images. So to kind of bring visibility to the community in a way that's really celebratory, so that they get to celebrate their effort and their contribution. And they also create an opportunity for citizens of Bloomington to see themselves reflected in a way that I think can be really empowering through artwork. So that's where the idea of it would be that they take the project on from the beginning, and they would be responsible for identifying these locations and the organizations that they could work with. And then they would also be responsible for presenting a proposal to you and moving forward with that kind of public project. One of the main inspirations for the assignment is For Freedoms, the billboard project that highlights politically driven art for civic and art engagement. So that's what I'm thinking, and I would love to hear feedback. I have not given an assignment like this thus far, and so I see the possibility for many challenges. I would certainly be hands-on and working with the students, but I would love to hear suggestions or questions, problems that you think might pop up. So that's my pitch. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Liz. That's great. Oh, and just to give a little bit of background for the other commissioners too, you know, we've been really excited to, like, from the Lucas Brown partnership that we had with SOED last year with the tree sculpture. So, you know, since I've moved here, I've been really adamant on partnerships with SOED, and I've been such a fan of Liz's work. So for her to come to us and think about her MFA program, I think is a really unique opportunity to also push some of the conversations that we have been wanting to have in terms of temporary public art, you know, new genres, new disciplines, you know, using photography. I think, you know, a valid criticism of all arts commission, right, at any kind of city level is it's all visual art and it's all mainly public art. So, you know, thinking through those new strategies and building those partnerships between IU MFA candidates so that hopefully they'll stick around after they graduate. So I'll let others take it away.
All right, let's open it to questions, comments, some feedback.
I have
Sam.
a comment.
Sam and then Essence.
Could just in a nutshell, is basically you want to take photos of like people in the community and then project it on a building?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to kind of boil it down to these will be portraits of people in the community, because I'm not sure, you know, what avenue the artists want to take in terms. They might collect stories, they might conduct interviews, and then make work in reaction to the people that they engage with. So I'm not giving them a portrait assignment, essentially. But I am putting the responsibility of honoring Bloomington citizens in their hands. So it could be portraits. They could also do things like they could decide to put the camera in the hands of somebody else, you know, and then they pick up the work of processing the images and preparing, and they end up doing the labor of projection and kind of celebration, but maybe they're actually highlighting and coaching other people to make images from their own perspective. So it is really like, we'll spend the first couple of weeks of the semester like feeling out what most makes them excited, and then I'll help coach them through putting together a proposal.
My immediate reaction is excitement for this project. It sounds really cool. And I really like the idea of us trying this out and taking advantage of that temporary art medium. So like that's really cool to me. And then I really like the idea of you having the students present to us at the BAC so that they can have that experience and put it on their CV or whatever, but also just know how to do this, go through this process for their like future parts of their careers. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you so much. That is certainly an objective. I really want them to get comfortable presenting their work and also asking for support for their work. I think that that's such a critical aspect of their education. And I too am all about like, how can we build their resume while also building their community, you know, so that they're strong and ready for a job market when they come out on the other side. And I think that's also really, like, that's an important aspect of getting out of the gallery, because, you know, like working within a gallery space is really only one way of operating, as we all know. And that landscape is changing. So thank you so much for the support.
Rachel and then Nick.
Yeah, I think I agree with Essence. This is awesome. I was thinking about like other potential partnerships and things that might be worth considering. And the first thing that I thought of that complements photos really well is writing, right? So like, I don't know if partnering with Women Writing for a Change or New Leaf, New Life, they do writing workshops within the prison system. If there's some sort of group that any spoken word, poetry, whatever, that could kind of go alongside the images, I think that could be really interesting. And I love that you're thinking of a temporary project So it's not necessarily anything that's permanent, and that the viewing of the images are temporary on the buildings or where whatever ends up happening. But I think it'd be really cool if there's a way that something could be documented in order to continue living. And I don't know if you've thought of any ways to do that. If so, I'd love to hear about it.
Sorry, I muted. That is, I love that question, because yes, I certainly think that it will be important to consider how it can continue living, right? Because this will be a body of work. And I think it will be not only, I hope it will be an event, like I hope that they're creating an event, and I love that you're talking about spoken word and the idea of performance being kind of an interactive evening or moment of celebration that can be definitely beyond the photographic work or the artwork that's projected. And then immediately my mind goes to, you know, like one of their responsibilities will be coming up with a theme. And I think like once you have a theme that you're moving towards, there's so many different possibilities for, like I think about zines. The last time I gave this assignment, my students had to make a zine out of the work that they did in reaction to volunteering. So they could either give the zines away or donate them or sell them in order to, like, you know, recoup the money that they spent making the work. So immediately I think about small batch publications. I think about even just a website. Once you have a body of images and a kind of, and the documentation of these things, I think they can really be shared well. So thank you for asking that. I'll definitely include that, like in one of the questions. My assignments tend to be based around a series of questions as opposed to a series of answers. So how will you make sure that this lives on will definitely be in there. Thank you.
Nick?
Yeah, I was curious as far as, you know, that sort of event and, you know, the projection phase. Is it going to be part of the student's assignment to find the locations to do those projections and to like partner with business owners or property owners or whatever else? Or is that something that they're potentially going to need help with?
That's a great question. So traditionally, we have done things like alternative exhibitions where they've been responsible for finding a space, working with a real estate agent or walking around town until they find something available, and then securing insurance and things like that for that space. In this case, they would be responsible for, I mean, one of the things that I hope that they're going to do through this is get to know Bloomington and really ask themselves, like, why does this image in particular need to be projected onto this building in particular? You know, so it might be that the first thing we do is identify a place, you know, and then from there we take that as like, what's the theme that's built around this place, and what are the images that are not seen in this space yet? Like what's missing from, or what can we contribute, you know, to this space in particular? So they would be responsible for identifying that and then figuring out who they need to contact in order to make that happen. And I will work closely with them, like, of course, you know, and my colleague, James Nakagawa, who some of you might know, has also been in Bloomington now for almost 20 years. And has worked extensively with the community in terms of these alternative exhibitions that they've done. So yes, you know, we will work with them and mentor them, but they are in charge of all the bits.
Were you involved in the exhibition that James did end of, or about a year ago, I guess at this point, I think it was end of fall semester, where they were in one of the abandoned, or not abandoned, but empty spaces right off the
So those were our MFA students, but so we switch off. So he teaches the MFAs in the fall and I do the spring. So that was kind of his baby. And I go to critiques throughout the time and we work together, but that was under his umbrella.
But it's the same sort of concept. Okay, that was
exactly.
I loved that exhibit.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I know, it was really, I'll let him know.
And Nick, I don't want to speak on your behalf. I mean, Liz, one thing to consider too, I think, is maybe shoring up and leaning on the Arts Commission to kind of have that conversation about locations. And Nick, I don't know if that's what you were getting at per se, but I think, I mean, one thing that would, you know, working with students, that is a challenge, I think, especially is, you know, thinking about the role of site specificity and what that means, and not necessarily constraining them to saying like, we have these sites that we want to see activated, but seeing what is discovered, but then providing, you know, feedback and maybe using the Art Commission as an informal critique early on in the project to say, oh, that's a great site, but actually it's not really ideal because of X, and here you should consider this, right? So
Yeah.
Nick, I don't know if that's what you were getting at, but that's just one thing to consider.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I love that. And I actually hope, I think you guys meet once a month. So like your next meeting will be mid-September. So I'm hoping that by that time, like that will be the first time that they join you. And so that they're really, they will have a very rough proposal by then, I hope. And that will be the beginning of their kind of conversation with you, seeking your advice and approval. So yeah, I think that that's really important. Thank you.
Yeah, the next meeting is September 4th.
Okay.
All right, I do want to be somewhat aware of time here. It's 6 p.m. So any other comments or questions regarding this project? All right, I love that you are pushing the students to really kind of own all parts and not learn just the artistic side, but, you know, all of the logistical parts of it. I think that many artists out there, and I think it's something that we struggle with as we're reviewing proposals and things like that, is you will find great art, but not necessarily, you know, the logistical side to back it up. So I'm glad that you're exposing them to all of those hard questions and challenges that come with public art.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you all for your support and response and questions. I really appreciate your time.
Absolutely, we're here for you. Sean. Ooh.
Thanks, Liz, appreciate it. And feel free to jump off because I know you got family stuff going on, so.
They're still screaming. Thanks, guys.
All right, Sean, if you can give us an update on public art along with Nick, starting with the other Black Lives Matter murals in.
Yeah, well, I mean, the big one, you know, obviously that was a big conversation about the street mural. So thank you all for helping the Banneker Advisory Council. I mean, we're always big fans of when community members bring us projects similar to the Janeway Collective and those kinds of things. So that was, I think, a really important step in the approval process, and, you know, kind of figuring it out. And I will be working closely with Eric on kind of safety and precaution measures. That's why we have to go to the Board of Public Works. And I've been doing a lot of research in terms of what we can and can't do and all that kind of stuff. I have gotten an initial go-ahead from Bike Garage to move forward on the call for the People's Park mural. I don't know if you all noticed too, a historical marker was put in place on July 31st. It's right next to the mural. So I think there is an opportunity to consider, you know, what the relationship between the mural and the marker is. And then also, I don't know, Nick, if you want to just highlight, maybe I can do this. You know, we did get some very negative feedback about how we've handled the Black Lives Matter addition to the People's Park mural and its defacement of trans and LGBTQ sigils in the community, so to speak, because in the middle of that mural, there's the pride flag as well as the trans flag. So we've been trying to negotiate a variety of different things. And I think one of the frameworks that we've discussed was just making sure that we're reapplying that kind of artwork into the new mural opportunity. Nick, I don't know if I didn't cover it well enough. But.
No, that's great. But I think the only thing I wanted to just clarify is that feedback came anonymously, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the unfortunate part, is we don't have the ability to like follow up directly with a citizen and, get an idea of exactly how they might like to see, this incorporated in a new design, or how we might be able to, represent those, those symbols of communities elsewhere in Bloomington. So, but yeah, I think that was good feedback to get. Should we just dive into Trades Garage now?
Yeah, and I'm totally a jerk and did not upload the finalists into the folder, so I am so sorry, y'all.
All right, while you're digging those up, just and the People's Park mural, do we now that you've initiated that conversation, do we have a timeline that we're looking at?
Well, the project can't get started until August 31st. So I'm waiting to get I was concerned about the timing of I didn't want to take away from the announcement of the chamber and the historical marker. And then also what's going on with the Banneker Advisory Council BLM mural. So I think it's a timing issue and in conversation with that. I would say that I'd like to get it out the door by the end of August. So that's kind of still on track. But if anybody has any concerns about that, or if that's too soon, I mean, it's still going to be a process in which we got to select the artist. There's going to be community meetings around the mural. There's going to be a back and forth. So I'm open if that seems to be too soon. I think some of the concerns that were brought up in that U report was like, why are we not maybe publicly talking about that? And maybe the RFQ would highlight some of the conversations that we want to have in the community through the Arts Commission. So anyhow, that's that.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see, timeliness. We agreed we didn't want to rush into it, which is fine. But we also do have winter coming up and weather to be considered.
Yep.
So, it either happens before that or not until spring in reality, because you're not going to put anybody out to paint a very large mural for a couple of weeks out there. In the winter.
Well, and then also too, I have to be real. I don't know, technically after August 31st, the property owners have every right to do whatever they want with what's on the wall, right? So I think we're also trying to negotiate a variety of different interests so that it's not just return to gray, and then there's a conversation around that. So I think if we have something moving and maybe starting to get underway in the fall, but also I think artists are hungry right now for work, frankly. And I think that's an important conversation we need to have about hiring artists, putting artists to work, those kinds of things too.
Yeah, I would rather see it happen this year than be dragged out until the spring. Anybody else? Any other questions?
I have a comment. I'm wondering about cohesion with the street murals. Have we talked to the Banneker Advisory Council about this project? Or is there a possibility to use like the same artist or something, or like have a group of artists that work on all three, or I'm wondering about that.
Yeah, Nichelle and Joy and the rest of the advisory council are aware we're going to do a People's Park mural. There was at the Parks Board meeting last week or a couple weeks ago, Eric had presented the downtown one being in front of People's Park, and that was like a non-starter because they felt like it was too close to the mural that was happening at People's Park and the marker that was going. So there is some cohesion and conversation. I think they have received, 7 submissions so far. From Black artists explicitly. So I think there's some conversation, and there's only, the idea is to hire 3 artists for that one on Elm Street. So there's going to be some people that we can kind of maybe hire out or at least solicit to the RFQ as well as, or for this People's Park mural as well. So I think there is, that's kind of our role. That's why I wanted to have this partnership with the BCAC and the BAC so that we could have this kind of communal-wide kind of conversation as we think about where these things are placed.
All right, let's go on to trades.
Nick, you want to walk me through? I'll start with Esteban, and then I'll bring up Anna and Maria, and then end with Aurora. How's that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great. So, thanks to everyone who helped with this review. This is one of the smoother reviews I've been a part of. This first from Esteban Garcia. He is Indiana-based. He has submitted previously for one of our RFQs, so it's good to see him return. Basically, this concept is built off of Incan iconography and involves these sort of physical reliefs with like tile work with LED light treatments. And I think that the bit of feedback that we've gone to him with, I think there were two big points. One was consideration about the Incan iconography and whether there's an opportunity to possibly collaborate with IU First Nations or someone else to perhaps represent iconography of our local Indigenous history here in Indiana, as well as Rachel was good to flag that there's an Sean, I don't know if you want to scroll to the sort of like full vertical, that right, yep, with the color blocking. That there's a garage in Nashville with basically like color blocked light installations. And so we provided that to him as well, just so that we can avoid mimicking that concept too directly. But this was probably if we were forced to choose one from the pool that we were starting with, this was probably the crowd favorite from our review committee. Any questions about this one as we're scrolling through it?
Yeah.
Or anything commissioners want to add? Yeah, Babette?
Did you get to the point where you gave Ernesto feedback from the comments that we had?
Yes.
And
I've spoken with all three finalists. Everybody's
okay, and that's what I would be curious about, what their comments were, because one of the things with Ernesto is that we had talked about the possibly being more inclusive to the trades district itself, and the whether it's having gone from the showers to computer, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, everybody took the feedback really well, and so we'll see. I'll be I'm sending out hopefully contracts this week to each finalist. So
okay,
we should get the final updates by the end of August for our next meeting in September.
Fabulous.
Our planning committee.
Fabulous. Okay.
Yeah.
Could you just remind me, what were the materials for his, and like what would it look like during the day?
He's pursuing a variety of different materials. I think it's aluminum, I believe, but it's these kind of like cut out aluminum patterns that are put in place. And then, so it's kind of got a monotone kind of look at first, and then at night it would be lit through the LEDs. I gave him that feedback as well about concern for daytime, nighttime. So there might be a way to incorporate some lighting into the structure of itself so that maybe it's backlit during the day, and then at night it's a different kind of lighting system that switches. So there could be a couple different approaches, but I think when I spoke to him last, I think it was looking at aluminum as a manufacturing process.
So that is slightly different than what he put in the proposal. Like, do you know, has that evolved?
It might have been from the conversations with the fabricators.
Got it. Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, it's still kind of a moving target. We'll see what he comes in. Aluminum might be through the roof next week with whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Who knows? I mean, I think a lot of the times with these kind of material choices, they'll evolve based off what is possible for the cost, right?
Yeah, because it was fairly ambitious. Like the proposal basically was that there would be 5 murals, 1 per level, and there would be, the tiles would be roughly 1 foot by 1 foot, 256 per floor, which would equal like 1,200 tiles thereabouts. And so he was talking about initially like wood, acrylic, or corian as materials, you know, but I think that with that scale, obviously it's going to be pretty dependent upon cost to figure out how that'll be realized. So this next one that Sean has up, this is Anna and Maria Meza, a sister duo, both who have or are currently studying with IU. So I think part of what we were excited about with this one, aside from the concept itself, is that, you know, it's two young female artists who are, you know, sort of starting to emerge from, you know, the academic side of learning the craft to entering into the public space. And so, you know, even though I think Esteban was maybe an early favorite, you know, I think we kind of latched onto the idea of bringing in a couple other finalists so that we could go through this process. We might be surprised and find out that, you know, one of these other finalists comes in with a concept that, you know, blows Esteban's out of the water, right? Like we might be really impressed. But if nothing else, I think going through the process and giving them that learning experience, we felt would be valuable. So this, Sean's scrolling through some of their previous work, but their concept was sort of around this almost like DNA, like double helix sort of stairwell concept. And yeah, so those are some sketches. And then Sean, if you want to scroll back towards the bottom, I mean, obviously this is a digital rendering that's sort of floating in space, which makes it a little bit difficult to visualize how it would work, you know, but I think that, you know, having something that would play vertically, you know, with the stairs in the stairwell was interesting. You know, I think that the one big question we had for them was about safety. You know, if you have basically a structural staircase attached to real staircase, how do you prevent small children and drunk college students from deciding that artistic stairs are real stairs, right? So, you know, that'll be, you know, a bit of a structural design challenge to make sure that it's safe. But yeah, that's that one. Any questions about that or any other notes from reviewers?
That one's pretty hard to picture. Is that all going to be within glass anyway?
We'll find out. I've given them that feedback to kind of work through safety standards. So we'll find out in 4 weeks on what they come up with.
Yeah, because we did not request like a hashed out proposal. They just alluded to it and added a visual for reference.
And for the rest of the commission, we really focused on the letter of intent, right? And some of the previous work. So it was really important, you know, people doing their homework, those kinds of things. You know, connection to Indiana was also important. A couple other kind of frameworks, you know, ability to see scale and work. And then, you know, also we've been really trying to want to support artists new and emerging, and so they kind of hit that mark really well. So yeah, and then
yeah, and then this proposal from Jeremiah and Aurora. Jeremiah maybe is living here currently. I don't know if we got clarity on that, but he's originally from Bloomington. So there's another local connection. I believe Aurora is based in New York. But the concept was sort of around like a series of thought bubbles that would hang within the space, and there would be so recycled acrylic. I think we liked the sustainability aspect of that. You know, they're pretty large, approximately 2 meters across. You know, there's physical depth to them as well. You know, there was also a lighting element. And I think the idea was that there'd be sort of a dimming effect that would almost follow people as they would sort of move up and down the stairwell. I think the best analog I could come up with is if you've been to the Indianapolis airport, like the Sky Bridge with sort of the, you know, the lights that sort of go above you as you move along, and sort of a calmer vertical version of this. And so, yeah, I think there are a lot of there's a lot in their previous work, you know, that you know, made us feel pretty good about their ability to execute this. You know, again, I think the sustainability was an interesting element. You know, I think that with the use of light and color, you know, there's potential for there to be a little bit of a through line to the Stephen Reese piece that'll be outside in the trades district. You know, and again, you know, thought bubbles, innovation, trades district, tech park. You know, we felt that their letter of intent was pretty compelling. Anyone want to add to that one?
Sorry, I'm not trying to rush you, Nick. Just know we have 13 minutes left.
No worries. Yeah.
And half the agenda. So
yeah.
You know.
So basically, you know, I think we feel really good about these 3 finalists that we ended up on. You know, Sean, I don't know if we communicated a firm deadline, but I know that you gave them roughly a month, right, to get back with full
Yeah,
content.
so we're not as much. I talked with Josh for the garage for running electrical, so we should be good there. I don't want to kind of cut into y'all's time anymore. So incorporating it into the first Friday meeting for the Public Art Planning Committee, extending that out as a time to review, maybe set up some interviews or discuss that. We still haven't decided whether we should make maybe a public comment period out of this, which might be good, like a 1 week, you know, activate the community, engage in some community feedback, and then also, you know, an opportunity for some of the other commissioners that aren't on the Public Art Committee to be a part of the kind of final review stage too. So we can kind of talk about that via online, via email, moving forward as we get closer to that. Yeah.
Any other questions for Sean regarding this project or Nick? All right, let's go through the other public art projects.
Yeah,
briefly.
Yeah, Switchyard Park, I should have drawings by the end of this week. 4th Street, we signed the contract, set it off, and then the trade sculpture. Moving forward, we've had a little bit of a redesign, but it's nothing that's taking away from the sculpture at all. So I'll keep it brief with that. So.
All right. Any questions regarding public art in general? We're good. Sounds good. Quentin and Nick worked very hard on a letter to City Council and Mayor John Hamilton regarding the Waldron Center. I know that there's 4 people who have signed off of the letter, but I need to make sure that everybody has had a chance to read it, sign it, or provide feedback to Quentin, because it is officially now just sitting in our Google Drive going nowhere. Any questions, comments? Anybody saying, okay, I haven't seen it, but I will in the next 24 hours?
Yeah, that's me. I'll do that.
And Sam.
And I will just clarify that Quentin worked very hard on that letter, and my notes were minimal in the end.
I just want to say I thought the letter was terrific. And, you know, all you have to do is just sign your little name at the bottom. It's very quick.
And if, not to light a fire, but the sooner the better getting that letter out, by the way, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Brian, maybe we could give like a deadline if if it's not there, we're gonna move forward.
We're going to send the letter on Monday.
Great.
So if you have any comments or feedback, you know, make sure you do it during this week so that Quentin can have a couple days to make it perfect, and then we will go ahead and send it on Monday. Mm-hmm. Anybody have an objection to that?
Brian, this is Karen. I don't have an objection, but somehow this has gotten past me. Can you tell me again where to find this letter?
I will email it to you right now.
Okay, thank you.
That way there's no confusion. And so Karen, since you're unmuted, let's jump over to the strategic plan. Just a quick update and what you need from commissioners.
Okay, well, I apologize to the people on the Public Art Planning Subcommittee because they've heard this before, but we have gotten to a point over the last week or two where I think that the plan is, 95% there, and we're ready to share it with the full commission. I think that the work on this started more than a year ago, and then we got new members and other things happened. But I think we're at a point where it's where we want to be, our group, but I want to make sure that everybody gets to see it and to sign off on it as well. I think Bryony had suggested maybe we give, a week or two to go ahead and read this and then sign off on it. We did choose to extend the length of time from 3 years to 5 years, because actually we've almost gone a year working on it. So, and we tried to make it such that we can be nimble. We have goals, but we can determine how we fulfill those goals depending on what might happen. We have a lot of unknowns coming up. So if you can go in and look at the document, either give Bryony or Rachel or I feedback, or put it in the comments and or sign off on it, we would really appreciate it.
And just keep in mind as you're reviewing this that we have had more in-depth conversations about how we would go about doing any of these objectives, but this is that sort of generic, open to the public guiding document that shares what it is that we're trying to do. Not so much, what are the steps that we're going to take in order to apply each of these goals.
Karen, I read it a little earlier today, and I liked especially the page 2 where I think Babette was talking about wanted to see some more meat on the bones, and I think you did a good job of that on that page 2 with all the guide connect, those couple of period things. I like that. So I would sign off on it.
Okay, any questions from anybody before you go and read the document fresh? All right, you all know what you need to do. Sean and Rachel, I think more Sean, because you had a meeting about this today regarding the next phase of grants.
Yeah, so one thing to keep in mind, I sent this email out earlier today. Please share far and wide, because this is CARES Act funding that is through Indiana Destination Development, but is being helped by the Indiana Arts Commission. You have to be a nonprofit or tied to a city or part of the destination and marketing organization group in the state. But this is going to be the last of kind of state funding for probably this year, unless there's another CARES Act that comes into play. So all your festival groups, all your friends that are involved in whatever nonprofits, this will be it. It's between 4,500 and 50,000 that groups will be eligible for. So encourage them to get on the webinar by the 17th. In terms of where we are for grants phase 2, I think Rachel presented on this at the last meeting about breaking up. So, in April, we were able to do this kind of emergency COVID kind of turnaround grant. This phase is more of a sustaining grant. So, having groups think about fall programming, collaborations, those kinds of things, sustaining them for this moment, the fall semester, however that shakes out, or the fall in general. And then because this was distributed by the BUEA this year, using the funds this year, and so also jumping into like a recovery grant in December. So it'll be kind of a similar grant application to what we did in April, with some continuing data that we're going to try to collect to be in line with the Recovery Forward Bloomington and stimulus money projects that the city's involved in. But the BUEA was supportive of releasing the funds. So what we're going to do that's a little bit different is reserve somewhere between 10 and 15,000 for venues specifically. So that's a for-profit kind of blurred line that the BUEA would traditionally support. So thinking about groups like the Bluebird, Backdoor, Bishop, those kind of cultural assets that have been totally taking a knee and have been really concerned about COVID and not opening their spaces due to the concern of spreading COVID. So we want to be supportive and understand that they matter. some of the feedback we've gotten from the chamber is that groups are a little hesitant to take on more loans right now. The city has a loan program that still has loans out there. So for even a little grant as $2,500 to a business will be quite generous, I think. And the answer also is no, it's not enough. I know that, but moving forward, it can helpfully signal both to other communities, other cities, and the state to consider supporting venues and what they mean to our community. So that's kind of an update. Rachel, I don't know if you have anything else to add or you want to discuss, but that's kind of the conversation I had at noon today.
Yeah, I'll just say quickly, like we have a draft of the application. As Sean mentioned, it kind of refers to the grant application we had before. We took in the feedback we received to try and make sure it's not super redundant. But if anyone would like to take a look at it, we can send it around. Based on the IUTD grant, that tourism grant, we're looking at timelines so that it doesn't conflict with that, but hoping to give folks a bit more time with it. And then I don't know, Bryony or Sean, if you guys want to quickly just talk about the grants meeting that happened with constituents last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, because I thought that was a really great meeting just to hear how everybody was like doing stuff.
Yeah, and so we kind of we called all the grant recipients in to kind of touch base, just to see what the concerns were moving forward in the fall, where everybody was. Also encourage them to send thank you letters to the Bloomington Urban Enterprise Association, the City Council, and the Office of the Mayor as we're going into recovery strategies moving forward. So it was a really important call. We got some interesting feedback about turnaround times and, working with boards if they're a small staff. And so we're trying to be concerned not to cannibalize too much between this potential Indiana destination grant and what we want to get money out the door right now to kind of create. But to put Tyler on blast, and who did an incredible job of analyzing all 26 applicants and thinking about collaborative frameworks. Tyler did an amazing presentation and kind of a different kind of thread to think about how groups could not only collaborate via discipline, but digital barriers, community barriers, those kinds of things. And Tyler really hit it out of the park, and I think gave a good field guide to arts organizations to kind of step up to the challenge. So
I think organizations were super impressed by that. People seemed like their eyes had opened to resource sharing and what a collaboration is. So nice job.
Yep. Yeah, no, not only did it open their eyes, it's like we've been hearing this wishful thinking all of a sudden, it could be a reality, and a very tangible reality. And we went ahead and made a PDF of all of the information that Tyler put together and shared that with them, so that they can take their time and try to find where they have an overlap with somebody else and start to really share in those resources. Okay, we are at time.
We're at time, yeah.
So I think unless there's something really crucial about the space needs assessment, can we put that for the next meeting?
For most of my staff report, we can just skip. I do have one important announcement to make. Next week, Wednesday night, our department, some of your funding is up at City Council. It would be really great to rally as many troops and members of the public to be there. We have included $60,000 as part of the stimulus Bloomington Recovery Forward for art-specific grants. So that would be, so next year, the idea would be to have 100,000 instead of 40,000 to distribute out of the BAC for recovery and kind of COVID responsive grants. So that request will be heard next week. Among some other kind of arts conversations, the Waldron and some of those things. So it'd be really helpful if we could have some members from the BAC who'd be willing to speak up and speak about the importance of arts funding moving forward. But also if you have connections and relationships with other people that want to sit through a city council budget hearing meeting, I strongly encourage it. I think we're going to go on around 7:30. So
what day?
Wednesday, the, let me see where we are, August. So that would be Wednesday, the 19th, right? Yeah.
Sean, can I request that you put that on the BAC calendar with logging information so that everybody has quick access to the details?
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions for Sean regarding that particular meeting? All right. Speaking of meetings, I just wanted to know if anybody made it to the hospital redevelopment meeting last week. All right. I know that they presented several greenways and things like that, so I will go ahead and finish watching that presentation and try and give you an update for the next meeting. And with that, let's just jump real quick to commissioner announcements, if anybody has anything. No commissioner announcements. I guess we don't have that many events and things going on.
I have one actually. Just real quick, Midway announced our summit lineup. We're doing a summit throughout the week as well as the festival at the end of September, early October. It's all virtual. But we have some really amazing people that are in the music industry that are on it. So if you know anyone that's interested in learning specifically about like the business side of music, we have panels on distribution, A&R, audio engineering, and a few others, photography and videography, and all sorts of stuff. And we have people from all over the country that are in some really amazing positions within the industry at a variety of labels. It's not just secretly folks. So join, if you will.
Sounds good. All right. I think that's it. Reminder, there's a grants meeting on the 21st and a public art meeting on the 4th, most likely extended to 2 hours. And we will be sending the Waldron letter on Monday. Look at the strategic plan. Anything else? Nope. All right, let's go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Barely here, 4 minutes late, and with a few agenda items missing, but we will see you all in 1 month, if not sooner.
Thanks, y'all.
Good to see you all.
Have a good week.